Give me just. All right, we are live. We're live now, so be careful what you say, gentlemen.
No swearing.
Hey, Brian is joining us in the chat room. Hey, Brian. Brian F in the chat room. I was wondering how long it would be before my Wi-Fi started giving up the ghost on streaming the live stream. 10 seconds.
Oh, really?
Well, I'm kind of borrowing someone else's Wi-Fi for the live stream part of it. So they probably said, "Hey, who is this person?" and cut me off. So I will switch to cellular.
One of your neighbors?
Yeah, they are.
One of your neighbors, they take it?
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
They are. Yeah, it's fine. I'm going to switch to cellular and watch it on my phone then. Cellular data. All right. There we go. We'll see how good. Ooh, no, go away, sound. Go away, go away. Okay, no sound. All right.
Say, Darren, where's the kitty?
She's around here somewhere. She might make an appearance. It's very likely.
All right. Why don't we go ahead? We're waiting for Gaz. There may have been a slight issue. It might not be able to join us, but why don't we go ahead and get started and see where we're at. Apple's going to get started any second. I know Dave will be itching to get talking about this stuff. So I tease
I'm
Dave.
just here for the fun.
We tease because we love.
There's always got to be a Tim Cook thing at the beginning anyway. That, you know.
Good morning.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. We're going to get started. Ready, guys?
Ready.
All right. In 3, 2, 1. It's For Mac Guys Only, episode number 434 for June 10th, 2024. Reaction time, WWDC 2024 Keynote. Hey everyone, welcome back to For Mac Guys Only, the show for the Mac community, where we share our thoughts and opinions on current Mac news and events. Well, with the promises of WWDC 2023 in our rearview mirror, including the Reality Pro headset that was released just this year, it kind of feels like we just did this, doesn't it? But here we are back for another WWDC, Apple's annual developer conference, where we expect we will hear everything that Apple has to say about the allegedly AI-driven editions of iOS 18, macOS 15, and yes, VisionOS 2, watchOS, and maybe a bit of AI-driven tvOS to tell us what to watch this evening. But before we get started on today's discussion, let's turn to the reaction time episode team members. First up is the co-host of For Mac Guys Only. It's Eric Erickson. Howdy, Eric. How you doing?
Pretty good. How are you doing, Mike?
I am doing great. I'm excited to see what Apple has got headed our way, which has actually already started. Next up is the host of In Touch with iOS, Dave Ginsberg. Hey, Dave.
Hey, Mike. Glad to be here. Yes, we're going to have some fun reacting to all these amazing announcements, and already has started.
And the latest member of Team For Mac Guys Only, appearing for the first time, and it's hoped not regrettably for the first time, Darren Davies. Hey, Darren.
Hi there. And I have my cat with me as well, so there you go.
And that's Princess, for anyone who wants to know. Yes, Princess the cat. And remember, if you're joining us live, I'll be keeping an eye on the chat room too, so if you have any questions or comments as we move along, be sure to preface it with a Q, and we will address it here on the show. So we are mere moments. Nay, it's actually started. But let's do a quick spin around the room and take 30 seconds each. 30 seconds, guys, to see what our panel is hoping to hear today. And with little rumors floating out there about what we might expect in macOS 15, I'm actually going to put our newbie on the spot here and ask Darren, what about gaming, Darren? Is Apple going to double down on last year's announcements, or Are we in for another down cycle of gaming news flowing out of Cupertino?
I think, in a way, they already have. So they've already gone down the gaming route quite nicely, and I think they're going to continue with that. There may be some announcements relating to gaming for the keynote today, but I'm not expecting too much in the way of hardware. But I'm always here for the software. The software is excellent. So my favorite part is the software, really, I think.
Awesome. Well, that's what this WWDC is all about. Dave, AI and home screen customization are the hot button rumors. What do you think about that? And what else should we expect to see on our phone screens this fall?
Yeah, AI, very much so. I mean, like I said pre-show, I was looking to see how the stock market reaction is going to be, and they're talking a lot of speculation. It's really going to be, is this going to really boost the stock if Apple jumps into this AI world? And they're skeptical about it, but that's the stock analysts here. But I'm excited to hear about the Siri when it comes to voice control, because we know how bad she's been over the years. So I think I'm excited to hear some exciting announcements potentially with that, especially being able to open up apps, with using her. So it's going to be a really great thing. And then of course, we're always looking for the OS updates. I think iOS 18 is going to be probably a pretty landmark OS that's going to have so many things that they've added that they've delayed for many years. We always get that comparison. Oh, look, it's already on Android. Well, you guys are so far behind. And I think we know that Apple is very focused on making sure they get it right. And that's how we see it, as being Apple pundits as we are. But then that's the thing. But then I think macOS is going to have some good exciting things. Saw some compatibility lists already to seeing that looks like on the Mac side of things. I'm excited to see that Apple's still going to stick pretty hard on all existing equipment no later than about 2018, 2019, which is great. So yeah, there's a lot of great things coming. We're gonna have some fun here.
And before we hand it over to, let me try that again. And before we hand it over to Tim, because at this point he's already started, and as we teased, Dave is jumping up and down, eager to talk about it. Eric, what, if anything, are you looking to hear from Apple today?
It would be nice to hear them come out with some new iPad OS features. In addition to AI, I'm assuming that they're going to get stuff that the iPhone gets, but it would be nice to see them push that OS a little bit further. And also it'd be great to see some Mac hardware, although I think that's a huge reach. But otherwise, pretty much everything Dave said. That's kind of what I'm thinking and hoping for. So, I guess we'll see.
The big rumor for iPadOS, of course, Eric, is calculator. We might actually have a calculator on iPadOS.
Of course, I'm excited about that. I just didn't want to mention that because I didn't want to jinx it. So
you didn't want to take over the rest of the show with your excitement.
Right, exactly. Yeah,
I don't know if you mentioned this, Dave, but system settings, they're looking at overhauling system settings. Now that we have finally kind of, we're learning where the stuff is. Well, they've announced that, the rumor is that they may be moving it around on us again. So we'll have to see what happens with that.
It's long overdue.
It is by a couple of years. Yeah. So the event has started, and as they've done in the last few keynotes, it's all pre-recorded. I don't see or have not seen anybody take the stage live. Have you? Has anybody else seen it?
No, I think the fun part was the intro where they had Craig Federighi. They were all getting up on a plane. They were doing skydiving and skydive down into the Apple Park, and Craig put his helmet on. It was really cool.
I did see that.
It was the silver hair. Yeah,
it was silver hair. Yeah.
It looks like they started off with some Apple TV news.
Yeah,
I just
we're
kind of
seeing-
caught it out of the corner of my eye, a little bit of Apple TV news, but now it appears as if they've moved on to VisionOS. Like Darren, I'm about 20, 30 seconds behind watching it on YouTube, but is that what I'm seeing here? tvOS
Yeah, there was
2,
some
perhaps?
TV Plus updates. Just it's the 5-year anniversary of Apple TV Plus, which is
That's
exciting.
crazy.
Wow.
And it's crazy.
That is
It's been
great.
that,
It is,
that long
really.
already, and yeah, showing some new movies and new shows that are coming. That's pretty much what they highlighted there when it came to that.
Kind of the big thing for
I'm a big
VisionOS,
fan
I'm
of,
saying, are all the apps they're showing that will be available with VisionOS soon.
Yes, and they just had announced VisionOS 2.
Yeah. Yep.
1.5 million apps. Are those apps that have been adapted, I presume, from iOS?
Yes, I think they're starting to expand upon that.
Have we ever had a chance to talk about this, Darren? How excited are you about the Vision Pro? Is this something that you're looking to maybe incorporate into your workflow?
Not personally, but I do like the technology. I like. I'm very much into the OS side of things. I like what they've done with the UI. They've really mastered spatial computing, to use the term, in a way that others haven't really grasped. I think they've put a lot of thought into it. There's a lot of research gone into how you use spatial computing. So I'm very impressed with the UI, how things work. I like the fact that the APIs you use to program against can literally let you take existing iPad apps and integrate it in to a vision stage, and with very minimal changes, or possibly sometimes no changes at all. The app just works and is reconfigured into that space and uses a different UI and responds to different events. It's all extremely clever. Of course, the developer has to program to that in a specific way to take advantage of it. But all of those tools are there. So if the developer does use the standard tools that they're meant to, then everything goes very smoothly, and their apps can transition to different platforms without the developer doing anything. It's extremely impressive.
Yeah. Has anybody else seen the latest commercial from Meta for their what do they call their goggles? I don't remember what they call them.
The MetaQuest, is it?
MetaQuest. It's certainly a different approach than Apple's approach. Apple's is seemingly all about productivity. It's all about family. It's about interaction. It's about making the most of the hardware that's strapped to your face. Meta's was about how to put together a baby crib. And this hapless father waiting for his child to come along is faced with this pile of crib pieces, and the only way he could put this crib together is to strap a MetaQuest to his face and follow the instructions for how to assemble the crib. I'm like, you could have paid somebody $30 to come up and put together that crib for you.
Yeah.
You don't need to strap a MetaQuest to your face. And I noted a clear difference between how they are trying to position their product and how Apple is trying to position their product.
Yeah. Apple usually has a very good story to tell people about how to use their products, whereas everyone else is flailing around trying to find a reason to use their product, whereas Apple has usually a very well-defined story put together, like here's the approach to using our stuff and how it will improve your life, really.
Yeah. No, that's true. And in fact, they've done a great job with that with just Vision Pro 2 now. And even just one of the things that the woman that was talking about it, the one with the great bell bottoms, I haven't seen those in years. She talked about that with how great it is to use Vision Pro on the plane, to watch movies and stuff. And I didn't even think about that, but that is a great idea. You can just kind of sit back and put them on, and you got the movie screen right there. And of course, they also showed the virtual screen, for your Mac and everything, and that people really like that. And that does look really cool, actually. That's kind of cool.
That's something Barry mentioned when he was on the show talking about his Vision Pro, that's one of the huge advantages of it for him with as much travel as he does, to be able to strap it on and watch shows or movies or whatever while he's in flight.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Alex Lindsay had a good story about that on a plane, whereby with most other devices that shut you off from the rest of the world, you're in a cocoon. Whereas Alex was on a plane with his Vision Pro, and as the hostess comes up to give you your meal, for instance, she can encroach into your movie, and it wafts away in like smoke, and the face of the person coming in to ask you a question is integrated into your virtual space, which nobody else does.
Yeah. That is totally cool.
They had just announced now that they're adding spatial video capabilities so that you can edit on the Vision Pro with Final Cut Pro and with the Vimeo app. It'll be on the Vision Pro as well, which is pretty cool.
Excellent.
Great.
I think I saw DaVinci Resolve go by too.
Black Magic Design. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's
Excellent.
pretty cool.
Now this is the exciting time with Vision Pro, because when we first got it, we were all so very skeptical. I'm assuming all of us have done a demo. Maybe not, but doing the demo was impressive. But it was like, okay, $3,500 for this, okay. So
Yeah.
This is starting. I think that's what Apple did. They got into the door with it, and now they're going to start doing some software enhancing.
Yeah.
I think it's a little bit similar to what happened with the Apple Watch, because when that was first introduced, many people, including Apple themselves, were a little bit unsure about the direction of what it would give to people. So it took a few years to bed in to decide, oh yes, the primary reason for the Apple Watch is health, and it goes down that road, and now it's almost like a given, like it was always meant to be that way. And I think the Vision Pro is very similar. So it's finding its feet at the moment. I think still it's going to take a couple more years, I think, and then we will figure out what on earth to do with spatial computing.
Right.
And I think that's exactly a good point, because I think really even with the original iPhone, there was a lot of skepticism on that when that came out too. I mean, it's easy to look back and say, oh, that was a hit right away and everything. But, there was a lot of, in fact, I think Jobs said their goal was to sell 10 billion in the first year. And there was a lot of belief that they wouldn't be able to do it. And it was really expensive and people aren't going to want to pay that much. And even with the, what are they going to do with it? Like you said, with the watch, it's been health. With the phone, they didn't have apps. Well, they had apps on there, but they didn't, their initial response to developers was, here, develop apps using, essentially HTML and JavaScript and everything else.
Web
and
apps,
people were like, and then they changed it to, what they did and created the App Store, and it just blew up after that. So, yeah. And I think
that
too,
even happened with the iPad, didn't it?
Yeah.
So when the iPad first came out, people said it was just a big iPhone. Why would you want such a big iPhone? But now we're into the stride of what an iPad is for. And it seems to have happened with every product, actually. It needs a couple of years to find its feet, to find its niche.
Right.
Well, Dave, it does look like we wrapped up VisionOS and we're on to iOS 18. And one of the first things that Craig Federighi is showing off is the customization of the phone. Not only the ability to move icons around on the home screen pages wherever you want. Thank goodness that's only taken long enough to do. But also kind of an incredible option to recolor all the icons,
Colors.
which I'm kind
Yeah.
of fascinated by that.
Yeah,
I don't
that
know if
was.
that-
I just saw him demo it, and it goes from you can change to any color you want down to you might want just a blue screen, like a bluer screen. You could have to any color you'd like versus you were stuck with whatever the color was now on currently. So. Yeah, I think some more advanced customizations. Again, we'll go back to the example. People who, we had this on Android before. Well, Apple took the time to make sure they defined it properly. And,
Yeah. Well, I am a little
I'm impressed.
curious how it's going to work. He was showing one entire row of icons being moved, but it wasn't quite
Yeah.
clear if you could move individual icons. Did you notice that?
No,
Yeah.
I saw he stacked
could,
it and brought it down. So,
Oh, we did.
Oh, that's interesting. Canon have just released a special lens for their EOS cameras for filming spatial computing. Spatial video.
oh yes, Canon did
Yeah.
show that off.
Very impressive.
Just
So it starts to become mainstream when other manufacturers are now supporting spatial video capture. So it's going wider than Apple now. with
Well, I'm
hardware.
definitely eager to. Well, I don't have a camera that can take that Canon lens. I wish I did. That'd be awesome. But Canon did just release a new EOS cinema camera. I just saw that got released last week,
did
which
they?
is pretty cool. But I am eager to try moving around these icons. I've always felt as if the home screens on iOS were just messy. There's no control over them. The icons just appear wherever they want to, wherever they want to appear. And you can move them around, but only within that block. So it'll be nice to finally have some organizational abilities to the screens so I can put the icons where I want them. As far as recoloring, I think that's cool. I don't know how much I would like that, though, because I'm so used to looking for particular colors and particular shapes when it comes to launching an app.
Yeah.
But that could very well have to do with that organizational aspect of the home screens that we just didn't have before. So now that we can put the icons where we want them, perhaps recoloring them is not as big of a deal as I think it might be, as cool as it is.
Yeah.
Justine just posted a little video showing the edits you can make. So you could colorize your dock, for instance, or have it adopt the color of a background image. It's quite nice, actually. Quite nice little customization stuff there.
The Federica is out there demonstrating some sort of app. The fact that you can hide apps now, which you could kind of do that before, but I guess this is a lot more. It's a way where you can just, if you don't want people to see that you have a certain app, and he was talking about an app that you might use to track hairstyles, and he said that's just good science, and that you may want to hide that from other people. and so which looks cool. I mean, that does look cool, actually. I mean, in the one sense, they've had that with focus, because you could change the focus and completely change your lock screen and your home screen, which is great. I use that when I put it in sleep mode at night. I have a much simpler home screen and lock screen and everything than what I do during the day. It's slick.
Yep.
Oh, it's very powerful. I think it's just a little bit too complicated for the average person probably to grasp. So I think this makes it easier. So that's good.
Probably, yeah. You're probably right about that.
I do agree with you, Darren. Focus is or can be confusing. If you don't use it all the time, if you're not used to setting it up, it can be a confusing. I don't even bother with it, quite frankly. I just turn on Do Not Disturb and deal with it. I don't use any other focus modes because it just seemed too complicated to set up. So I do have one kind of snarky, sarcastic question here, though, Eric. I mean, if I want to hide the apps, why don't I just lock my phone and not hand it over to somebody else?
Yeah, I
mean,
was kind of wondering the same thing. I don't know.
I've never understood people who just willingly hand their phone over to somebody else. No, what are you doing?
Yeah, Not sure about that either. Actually, just don't really get it. The although now they're showing new features with messages, and it looks like you can. Hopefully, I got this right. Schedule a message, which is something I've wanted to be able to do for a long time. And they showed. I think the example was "Happy Birthday." They said, "Happy birthday! I told you I wouldn't forget," and then it sent out at 10 a.m. or something. So.
You can use that, Eric.
Yeah, I could use that. I really could use that. So I'm excited about that.
I didn't want us to pass over control center because there was some pretty major changes to that. If you guys did see that, you bring it on, you actually can tap, hold it, and just like you do on icons, you can wiggles. You can just remove them right from the screen.
Wow.
Where you had to go into the settings, which was a big pain. And then the other thing is they added a controls API where you can put on the lock screen the flashlight and camera buttons right on the lock screen. So and you can customize it right on that lock screen using the controls API, which is really
versus
cool.
just the little corner icons
in the corner there. You can put it wherever you want and control it. On the screen.
Here's a question though, Dave. Maybe you saw this go by. Can I finally remove that stupid music control center icon? I don't use it for anything. I don't want it. I don't like it. I want to get rid of it. And yet it is every time on all my devices.
From what I saw, no, you can't. You couldn't before. From what I saw, you could, but don't hold me to that because with of course this was past that pretty quick here. But it looks like you have a lot more control of what's in the control center as well as how to customize them. And I don't know for a fact that music one can be turned off, but it's possible.
Yeah.
So you don't use the now playing thing, is what you're saying?
Ever.
Right.
I hate it.
Yeah, and you can't get rid of it because if you play something once, it's always there, and sometimes you have it in your pocket, you tap it and it plays and all that, and
everything else has an option to hide it from control center or from your menu bar, except for that. I do like the ability, Dave, of being able to tap, wiggle, and move around those control center icons wherever. That is very, very cool. And also on the lock screen, that's great. So you can add more to the lock screen than just the two?
It's from what I've seen. I'm following the blog here on Mac Rumors, so I'm going back here. But this is what they were saying as far as that goes.
That's cool. Very cool.
It looks like you could swipe down. So if you have the flashlight, you can swipe down on it, and then it'll reveal the next one, which is totally cool. Yeah.
Yep.
And they're adding topo maps to the Maps app, so you can get routed wrong in the forest too. So when you go on a hike and it's the wrong place, that's cool.
Kind of long overdue.
Yeah.
The other rumor I heard, which I don't know if this has gone back yet or if it's even going to be announced, but the ability to create your own custom routes in Apple Maps is sorely missing. And if they bring that'll be a huge determining factor whether I use Apple Maps more or continue to ignore it as I do now. The lack of custom routes is just very problematic for me.
It is a big deal. And it's funny they don't have it. And I didn't see that, so hopefully it looks like they added it.
Yep, that is really cool.
It appears as if we're still in Messages, or at least Messages combined with Apple Pay, perhaps. I saw the purchase of tickets go by.
Yeah, you can hold phone to phone and pay privately.
Tap to cash.
Oh, cool.
They've been talking about that for a while.
It looks like they're on the photos.
Yep.
Cool. It's going quick, isn't it? I was just catching up with Matt.
Yeah, my head's spinning here right now. It is going really quick.
It is going really quick.
More times. Yeah.
And we didn't even mention that they, speaking of quick, game mode went by there super, super quick.
Super
Oh,
fast.
I missed that. I didn't see that
It
at all.
did. I saw it come up, and I'm like, well,
And by the time I was seeing them mention game mode, you mentioned, Eric, that they moved on to photos.
Photos.
So, yeah, the biggest redesign ever for photos is what I'm seeing Craig mention here.
So if they can sort from,
Oh, my gosh.
oh,
Don't even bring it
here's,
up, Eric. Don't even bring it up. What a pain point. What a pain
know.
point.
I just don't understand why they haven't. It just doesn't make sense to me either.
Sorting is one of the first techniques you learn in programming classes. Why?
Yeah.
Why is sorting still not a thing in photos?
And it looks like they've got the option in there, that they've had it in there in the menu. It's just been grayed out.
Grayed out. It's been grayed out since
Yeah.
iPhoto. Well, it worked in iPhoto.
I know. And that's where I got used to it.
Maybe they need to bring some of the iPhoto developers out of retirement. Maybe that's what they need to do.
Or the aperture, whatever, you know.
I think one of the ideas for moving on from that was more reliance on search. Why do you need to store things in the right places and categorize things when you can just search for anything you need? So search possibly takes over from that, or maybe that was the idea, and perhaps in practice, people are still they like their original ways of doing things, so they want to go back to storing things in the right places.
So what I hear Darren saying is that I'm just stuck in the mud. That's what I hear you saying, Darren.
Well, no, I wouldn't say that, because I have lots of albums myself, and I put things in the right albums and so on. But I think search is actually, with AI, they're probably going to massively improve search anyway across the board. So it might be improved a lot in photos as well.
Awesome. Dave, you had something you wanted to bring up.
Yeah, I was just going to circle back. We were asking about game mode. I got the confirmation here now. It says game mode, which is coming to iPhone, is going to minimize background activity to keep frame rates high, plus more responsive connections to the AirPods and wireless game controllers. So that's the biggest improvement on gaming. So that's what that gaming mode is going to do for you.
Okay, that's awesome. Yeah.
Oh,
so
cool.
some of that came over from the Mac, didn't it?
Exactly. That's exactly the same thing that the Mac does now, and it's great because it's automatic. You don't have to do anything. If you run something that takes over the screen, you automatically go into game mode, and it's seamless. It's excellent. The user doesn't have to think about any particular settings or changing anything. It just works.
That's great. That'll be terrific.
Yeah, but I think looking overall with photos, it seems like they did have to do a complete redesign. It was organization, like you said, Mike, has just not been the greatest.
Yeah. Working with the galleries has always been fine. You can kind of sort those and rearrange them the way you want to, but when it comes to the individual photos, it just lacked a lot. So it could be, and maybe they mentioned this, Dave, it could be AI enhanced organization coming to it, or not. I haven't seen much about AI go by.
There hasn't been anything about it right now that I'm a little concerned.
No, that's what I was just going to say. Yeah.
Maybe they're saving until after they get through with all the OSs.
Oh, that's a good point.
Well, I like that bit. Screenshots can be filtered out of photos. Huzzah!
Oh, nice. There should be other things too that they can filter out. Like you take a picture of a product at the grocery store because your wife says, get this, and you say, is this the one? And then it shows up in your photos library,
Yeah, highlighted photo.
Oh, yeah.
One of those automatic slideshows. Past shopping trips.
I know. Remember when you bought this? Yeah.
Now they've moved on to audio and home.
Yeah.
I have not seen very many rumors in the audio and home category other than some alleged future release date for new AirPods, which is kind of long overdue, actually. But
Yeah.
Especially AirPods Max.
AirPods Max, exactly.
Yeah. Which
Way
they did-
overdue on those.
Yeah.
I'm definitely here for a new set of Apple TV functions. I think it's one of my favorite Apple devices, actually. The Apple TV is where it's at. I really like mine, especially now I've started to put emulators on there, and Apple have relaxed the rules for the App Store for supporting emulators. It's a one-stop shop. It's a perfect streaming box, very fast, very capable, better than any other, and also more expensive, obviously. But we'll gloss over that bit.
Not much more
But now it
expensive,
can-
though, Darren.
No, it can also
Yeah.
be your retro games machine as well as your entertainment hub and so on. So I think the versatility of the Apple TV is really good, and I wouldn't be without mine.
Yeah, I have to check out those emulators.
If you discount,
Yeah, it's a tad tricky to set up. RetroArch is an acquired taste. You have to delve in there, and it's quite tricky, especially from the controller point of view, where you've got to customize your controls. But once you've done it, it's really, really good. Like you can play your Spectrum games on your Apple TV, Mike.
That's cool.
or I can play them on my Spectrum.
Yeah.
Oh yes, you've got a Spectrum Next, of course. Yes.
Going back to pricing, if you discount all the low end thumbstick type streaming devices that I can't recommend to anybody, quite frankly, and you go to the higher end boxes, the price discrepancy isn't that great. You're talking about maybe what, $40-$50 from the high end, let's say Roku
Yeah, it's
Ultra
not
or something
huge.
like that. And then when you take
Right.
into account one of the Roku soundbars, those are well over $100 by themselves. Now, granted, the Apple TV doesn't have a built-in soundbar, but maybe that's where Apple should be headed. Maybe we should be seeing Apple release a HomePod with a built-in Apple TV streaming device. That would be pretty cool.
Cool.
I
Yeah.
could see that being
Yeah.
snapped up.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, the Apple TV doesn't need to be a miniature Mac in a small box, black box there. New Apple TV or an option could be the HomePod itself to act as an Apple TV if you plug that into your HDMI setup.
Right.
It could provide sound as well as be the Apple TV itself and your home hub server for your IoT devices. So
Yeah.
it
Speaking
does a little bit of
of
everything.
Apple TV.
Sorry.
No, go ahead. Speaking of Apple TV, you've been talking about, it says the new features being added to the Apple TV Plus called Insight, which is when you watch an Apple original show or movie, it'll display what actors are currently on the screen and what song is playing. Oh, that sounds a little bit like Amazon Prime.
I know.
Mm,
The X-ray.
it does.
I know. It does.
Yeah. So,
Yes.
but it's, I mean, again, I hate doing comparisons to things, but I mean, I don't know. Does Apple take a long time to do this stuff, or by choice?
Well, no,
you know?
I think it's a good idea to compare, actually, Dave, because it's the approach of the companies is different. Amazon are
Yeah.
providing that service to try to sell you something, whereas Apple
That's
is
true.
providing the same service to try to give you more information in entertainment. So,
Yeah,
Right.
good point.
yeah, it's a different approach. Amazon just wants to sell you things.
Yeah.
You sound like that's
Yeah.
a bad thing, Darren. But now, the Apple TV app that I run does have the ability to pull up the actors and producers and directors and information about the shows and stuff like that. But what we're talking about here is doing it while watching the show.
While watching. That's what X-ray
Right,
is on
right.
Prime. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
built into the OS. Yeah.
Man, they are whizzing through this.
Wow.
They really are.
It's difficult to
So
keep
the
up, isn't it?
other thing on the Apple TV, they added some more enhanced dialogue with support for TV speakers and receivers, AirPods, and
nice.
other
Nice.
Bluetooth devices. user machine learning. That's the first time they mentioned that. Users machine learning to give greater vocal clarity
AI.
to voices.
Take a drink.
There's our first AI mentioned. And then
Well, here's a good question, Dave.
21.9 format for projectors. So if you use an Apple TV with a projector. Wow.
Ooh, it's nice.
I didn't see anything about HomePods go by.
No, nothing.
Nothing.
No, they said home audio,
No,
but
I
they
haven't.
didn't.
Not yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking at the home audio grid, and there's nothing mentioned at all. Wow. Now they moved on to Apple Watch and Apple Fitness Plus.
That's the thing. Apple have got so many operating systems now. It's like in a keynote, they're going hopping from one OS to the other in a few minutes, so it's difficult to keep up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they showed the list
Yeah.
of all of them. There's what, 5 now? 5, 6?
I think they're about sort of 5, 6 OSs now. So there's a lot to maintain as well, and they put, unlike other companies, they put out their new OSs at the same time every year, pretty much at the same time,
Right.
guaranteed.
Yeah.
Oh, before we get there, I wanted to give my prediction for macOS naming. Now, Dave, I think this was your call last year. If I remember, you made this call last year, but
Yeah.
I like it. Of all the options I've reviewed, I think Sequoia should be where we're at with macOS 15.
Sequoia
That was one of them.
is good.
That's nice.
Yeah.
I like that.
My prediction when I was on the Mac show, I said Mammoth.
You think Mammoth?
Mammoth
For this year?
Mammoth is good too.
Yeah.
Mammoth would be great.
Does it
actually.
conjure up the right image, though? Like
Great scheme.
old extinct elephant-related
Old dinosaur.
creature?
Well, just like
dinosaur.
Sonoma, just like Big
That's a-
Sur, just like
It's a mountain. Big. Good.
Big, woolly,
Conjures
and
up big.
cuddly. Yes, and friendly.
And friendly.
And friendly.
Friendly.
No, you're thinking of the movies Ice Age, Darren,
Oh yes, indeed. Yes.
which is so bizarre to think they are Disney properties now.
Oh yes.
Oh my
And including
gosh.
Star Wars,
Seriously?
which now
Yeah.
is Disney.
You know, we're kind of used to Star Wars because it's been, 20 years since they
Yeah.
bought it? I don't know how long it's been, but every time
Yeah.
I see Ice Age come up on Disney,
That's
merch,
weird.
merch, all this stuff. I guess eventually they'll start appearing in the parks, but yeah, since they bought the Fox Studios, they now own.
Wow. Interesting.
They do a
Yeah.
lot of stuff on health, and they have the new thing called Vitals. Looks like that they'll be able to actually do more streamlining of your vitals. I didn't get the exact specifics yet, but
Yeah, that's the thing. I think a lot of people are waiting for the
that's it.
golden feature, the testing of blood sugar with non-invasive testing, which is always going to be a real tricky thing for anyone to do. So I don't know who's going to pull that one off first, but it might not be Apple.
oh,
But
I could tell you,
Yeah.
I have a measuring tool on mine for me, and I use the Dexcom G7, and they just
Yeah,
added
yeah.
support independently to the Apple Watch, which I was really excited about because now my phone can be away from me, and I can see what my glucose levels are right from my watch.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Just by
Oh,
picking
that's
up the
great.
app.
Yeah.
And they haven't had that's the first time any there's many of those systems out there, and it seems like the Dexcom guys are getting really good at this stuff. I mean, obviously the goal is we want to get the Apple Watch to be the place to somehow be able to do a measurement without being invasive. That's the problem. I
Right.
put the little disc on my arm, and there's still I'm still getting a brick in my arm here, but it sits for 10 days. So, but
that's it. I don't think the watch would sell as well if it came with a giant needle.
no, it wouldn't. Or if you have to add it as an accessory, right?
Yeah.
Tap to do your blood glucose measure, and you feel a prick in your wrist.
We
Yeah,
could do everything else with
Yeah.
our bodies when I'm outside of it. I mean, I know that they're obviously looking at this technology.
Yeah.
I know
Well, it's probably a mistake.
they've
I've been waiting, but it's probably a mistake to wait for the Apple Watch itself to fully support it internally, because as you say, it does support working with external measuring devices that gather data and go straight into your health apps. So it does a great job already.
Right.
But it's not all in one product at the moment. But I don't blame Apple for that, because it's extremely difficult.
Last time I read something on that, the engineers said that was like one of the hardest things.
Yes,
it is
to actually do, and that it would probably be years before we'd see anything, if possible.
Hey, we came up with AI. There's you got to think they got to come up with something like this, right?
They got to come up with something. Yeah, exactly.
And smart stacks on your Apple Watch.
As Darren mentioned earlier, just about all the focus that I've seen on the Apple Watch has been fitness, health,
fitness, health.
Yeah. Makes sense. Yeah. That's really its goal.
Yeah, well, it seems obvious now, but back in the day, it wasn't so obvious to people when the watch was first released. It was like, well, what do we do with this?
Yeah,
there were rumors as far as what watch is going to get supported, and which I read, and I think it's going to be a watch 6, Series 6 and higher, and the SE, the first gen SE is going to be not supported either. So they're so that means the 5 and the 4, and the 4 will be gone, as well as the SE, from what I heard.
Okay.
From what I read in the rumors.
That was quite the rumor for iOS 18 and macOS 15 support. That I saw pretty much everything that supported the current versions will support the new versions coming out, with potentially one exception, and I did not see what that exception was.
They've now moved on to iPadOS. Craig flew right back in again.
Yeah.
I almost feel as if we just had an iPadOS announcement because of the recent announcements that we covered here on previous reaction times. But I expect, we're going to see how they integrate the iOS 18 features that they've already told us about into the M4 iPads.
Right.
Especially when it comes to video editing, which was a huge focus of the announcement of the M4 iPads.
Yeah. It's not just power, though, is it? It's also the approach to the UI of how you do things like edit videos, because it's more tactile when you can swipe around and use a pencil, for instance, to cut in a way that traditional editors would have cut physical film. It's almost going back to that, but I've heard people describe editing both audio and video on iPad and it being a superior experience, so they can actually edit quicker by using purely because it's touch focus and you've got a different UI to your content.
How does that play out, Eric? Do you find that to be true when you edit on the iPad?
The pencil is kind of cool. As far as the just gestures and stuff like that, I've never had as much luck, and I tend to just use the Mac version of Final Cut Pro simply because there's still a lot of things that the iPad version doesn't do that I need to do. But the pencil is kind of cool, and I know that they've forever, like in motion, and they don't have that for the iPad yet anyway, but they've had you've been able to do different gestures with stylus and everything, so it'd be great for them to continue that with all their apps on the iPad. I saw that they just introduced the calculator.
Let's say breaking news.
Breaking news. Yep.
I saw Dave smiling in the background. I figured it was the
I
big
went like
news
this.
of the calculator.
I waited.
Yeah. And there's something in there called Math Notes. So
yeah.
So you
Oh,
can
show-
write
they're
out
gonna do a
your
demo on it.
math problem with a pencil.
So here we are in 2024, and one of the big announcements that we're all super excited about
Oh, you can do scratch math. That's awesome.
Yeah, I know.
So you actually can
is a
That's so
calculator
cool.
app.
They
on the
really
iPad.
enhanced this calculator app now. Now you can get really excited
Oh.
about this.
Now, here's
Yeah.
the thing. Here's the thing. It's only going to be M4 compatible. That's what we haven't been told yet. That they're going to
Yeah.
have
Oh.
you're going to have an M4 iPad in order to
Why?
power this thing.
You know, but
Why?
but you know what? With iPads, they've really reduced down what versions are what iPads are going to be compatible. Well, I read the rumors, and I think it's going to be 2018 and newer. So anything but beyond that, it's not going to be supported.
Yeah.
Oh,
So I would think
Is
they
it-
would probably. Be
I
able to
was
take advantage of
assuming that
those-
mine
with
would
those
work,
processors.
but maybe it won't. I've got a 3rd gen iPad Pro. Is that too old?
Is that a 2018?
I think so.
Yeah, you might be okay.
Might be just about.
I think you
this
are.
might be my last
think
OS that I can put on.
Again, I read the rumors, so until we see the official announcement, I'm not gonna.
That's
hold
it.
to
Yeah, with what it's compatible with. Yeah.
Now
I
we
was
joke
thinking
about
I won't have to upgrade this iPad for another couple of years, but maybe that's not actually true.
Oh, if
I
it's
might have to bite
2018,
the
you
bullet.
got 6 years. That's a pretty good
they're
run.
Yeah.
driving
it's-
Darren
it's
to
been-
the Apple Store.
Yeah.
Well, you can't talk to Eric and I because we both have the new iPad Pro 13. So
Yeah.
Now we joke about the calculator app, but some of these features that they're showing here are pretty
Yeah.
And math
amazing.
notes looks cool.
The
Yeah.
math notes and the
with
scratch math,
diagrams. Yeah,
the
So you actually
ability
can do some
to
designing.
handwrite a string of numbers and have it sum total those numbers
Yeah.
to
Nice.
So, this is going to
seemingly
be talked about a lot.
draw
Yeah.
like an arc and have it figure out the math of that arc. I'm
and
trying
you
to
can do
figure
it
out
in
what I'm
notes.
seeing here.
Yeah.
That's going to be indispensable for students. That's going to be fantastic.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
And you can do it from notes too. You don't have to be in the scratch math.
Wonderful. Nice.
Right. You don't have to be a calculator. Yeah.
That just
Well,
added
that's
some
sort of
major
the thing that
enhancements.
Apple does a lot, actually, isn't it? They produce like an API for this sort of thing, so it doesn't have to be sitting in a particular app for you to access it. You can access it system wide. So they do that quite a lot, and it looks like they're doing that with this as well.
So it sounds like they're using they've got Smart Script on there, which it
Oh my God.
analyzes your
I'm
handwriting.
watching it.
Yeah.
and it's like
That's cool.
Wow, I'm gonna have to watch
Yeah.
this later for real because I can't see any of the video.
oh, I know.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's really cool.
Just going back when they first started iPadOS, one of the things they did announce that we didn't talk about was the floating tab bar. It lets you actually navigate the different parts of the app and be able to customize and move the sidebar, move the tab bars, and keep your favorites within reach, like within an app, like the Apple TV app or something like that. So it looked really cool.
That's
The
cool.
other thing they did is they did some refining of all of the iWork apps, the Pages, Numbers, Playgrounds, and it's when you bring it up, it's more distinctive when it comes the app opens, which is telling me that we're really trying to focus on making this. Is this going to be a replacement device, not a Mac? So they've added some enhancements there with that kind of thing. And will other app developers like Microsoft would they take something like that?
Craig Federighi's
there you
like
go.
doing parkour now all the way down.
Yeah. Guess
Wow.
what? That's a stunt man.
It is a stunt, man. You can totally tell too.
Oh, you can totally tell. Okay.
That's awesome.
Well, there certainly are some fantastic enhancements to iPadOS, though in the grand scheme of things, somewhat minimal. I think a lot of folks
Yeah.
are going to take huge advantage of them, but it's almost like we're getting to the point where iPadOS is hitting that same stride that macOS has hit, where we're just seeing, that slight evolution every year, just to kind of keep us wanting to upgrade.
Incremental. What?
Speaking of macOS,
We're about to find
Dave
out
was right.
what it's going to be.
Sequoia.
Oh, this is the big one.
It's Sequoia.
Sequoia.
Yeah.
You got
Is
it.
Yeah.
Oh,
wow, that's got to be the first one I've guessed right in 20 years.
Nice.
awesome.
That's awesome.
I don't know.
Well
I saw
done.
some of the lists, the lists of potential names. I agree, Mammoth would be pretty cool, but Sequoia just seemed like it flowed with Ventura and
Just one of those two.
Catalina and some
Yeah.
of those others. I love the backdrop. Showing the trees. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Looks like they're showing off continuity first.
Making it more magical. It said. He said.
So here, okay, continuity. We'll see what they're announcing here. Two of my wish lists. One, you know how you can scale an app so it flows under the notch bar, so that you can see your entire menu bar, so that you can see the entire app without the notch getting in the way. I would like that to be a system-wide feature
yes.
for macOS. I want to be able to flip a switch.
Yeah.
So that every single thing I run is scaled to fit beneath that notch bar. I
Yeah.
intensely dislike the notch on the Mac. It just hides too many things.
Yeah.
So that's one thing I'd like to see.
I thought you
Yeah.
could already do that with the screen resolution.
Well,
change.
no, you can't.
No, I don't think so. You need a little app to change things dynamically for you, I think. But like you're saying, Mike, it would be nice if that was built into the OS.
Under display settings, I would love to be able to set my menu bar icons and menu text to always
To
black.
render underneath the bar, yeah.
No, to always black. That's my second request. I
see.
I don't like it when the menu bar changes to all white icons and white text on the menu bar. I can't read that. I want black all the time. So
Right.
what I find myself doing is I have to pick a wallpaper that coordinates with the Mac's wanting to automatically switch the colors.
There is an app you can get which you can feed wallpaper into, and it will generate the background for you, and yeah, it's quite nice.
Yeah. I have
cheating, of
seen
course.
that. I've also seen an app called Boring Old Menu Bar. That might be the one that you're talking about.
Yeah, something like that.
and that's pretty cool. But look, how hard could it be to just in the
Oh,
display
it's
settings?
easy. Yeah, they could put it in the OS. Yeah.
There is one workaround. There is one workaround, and that is in accessibility, you can reduce transparency. If you reduce transparency in,
Yes, I do
accessibility,
that. Yeah.
it displays the way I want it to display. But I do like the semi-transparent dock. The menu bar can be solid, but the dock I like to be transparent. So it kind of needs to be not an all or nothing thing. It needs to have a little bit more flexibility when it comes to customization of how the display works on the Mac. But
Have you
All right,
filed an Apple feedback request for that, Mike?
no, because I know nobody's going to read it.
Well, I think they're very good at reading it and actually doing things. And
Why does this
with
MacBook
suggestions.
Pro look so incredibly tiny compared to Craig's hands? How large
it's a
are this
visual
man's
effect.
hands?
Wow. Oh my God, yeah.
All right. I can't believe this new feature on continuity. iPhone mirroring allows you to view and control your iPhone from your Mac. And
Oh, I like that.
he demonstrated where you actually can go to the iPhone that's on the screen and you can control it right from the screen. You can do Final Cut Pro editing and drag photos into an app right onto the iPhone from your Mac. Your phone can be in your backpack locked away, and as it's close by, you have access to your iPhone on your Mac. Oh my God, I can't. I'm
That's
just,
good.
wow.
That I will use. I will use that.
Yeah.
I might use that as
You
well.
drag and drop items from files from your Mac to your iPhone with just seamless.
Potentially you could remote onto someone's Mac that you're helping, and
Yes.
control their iOS device through that remote connection as well, to help them out with in a sort of a way that Apple does when they support you on iOS devices. But we've never been able to do that before.
I was just going to say, Darren, that would be a great option.
Yeah.
What was that, Dave?
Doing demos, like I demo iPhones all the time, and
you do
always had to have this third. That feature right there more than likely is going to Sherlock a lot of those apps that are out there, like Reflector and a lot of the other ones I've been paying for all these years.
Oh yeah, what's the one I use? I use Air Server. I wonder if it'll.
Yeah, Air Server. That's the old one.
Taking over from Air Server. Yeah.
You know, and you could always demo an iPhone screen by just hooking it up via Lightning or
directly.
USB-C. You could always do that, but the ability to control it is huge.
That's it.
Huge.
Big. Yeah. I like that feature.
That really got me excited there. Wow.
Yes, that is brilliant.
So now they're talking about building on passwords. I know they were talking about in rumors that they're going to have their own password manager. Per se, like 1Password.
Oh, this is the one feature I wanted to see on the Mac. It's just been announced. macOS will suggest a tiled position for windows that you drag to the edge of the display.
Yep.
Well, hey.
Yeah.
Not a fan.
It's been a long time coming, I must admit.
I know a lot of folks like that. It is absolutely one of the first features I turn off whenever I sit down at someone's Windows 11 machine. I don't like snapping windows personally, but I know a lot of folks who love it, and I think that's going to be a huge new feature in Sequoia.
I wonder if it works a little bit differently to the way Windows does it, because one of the things that Linux does or can do is having a tiled window manager. So as you launch new apps, all the other apps retile themselves. So that's a different way that Linux currently works, but Windows doesn't. And I think Linux works better for that with a proper tiled window manager.
It does. So with Windows, it's a heavy-handed, forced upon you type thing. And with the other operating systems, it's a choice. It's the user's choice, not the operating system's choice.
Cool. I do like that feature there. That's good. Yeah, it does confuse Windows users coming over to the Mac when they try to do those things and find, I can't do what I'm used to. So it's a good addition to make Windows users feel at home when they want to switch over, perhaps from running Windows machine to a Mac instead.
Oh, that's a good point. Gaming.
The new password is the Passwords app's going to actually support Windows with the iCloud for Windows app, which is pretty cool.
A new password app, that is brilliant. That is what I've been waiting for as well.
So let's go back to that. So
I must admit, sorry.
Oh no, you're good, Darren. I was going to say, let's go back to that, Dave, because I saw a keychain go by, but I didn't see the standalone password app. So we are seeing a standalone password app coming? I know that was rumored.
Yes. It says it's keeping it combines Wi-Fi app, website verification codes, shared passwords, signing in with Apple, and passkeys all in one. They've enhanced it even further.
Yes.
How about cross-browser?
Yes, the new passwords app is for real.
Verification codes, sync across devices, and then the Windows device. Yeah, that's all they announced.
That's very timely for me. I've just been transitioning away from 1Password onto Apple's password manager built into settings currently. So this is going to be a step ahead for that on my transition away from third-party password manager onto a first-party one. So yeah, timely.
Yeah, there was a bunch of enhancements in Safari. Notably, one that says if you're looking at a hotel in Safari, you find the hotel's location and phone number without even having to search throughout the entire page to find it. So you know how that is. You go to a hotel and then their phone number is never prominent on that page.
No.
Safari,
never
it's actually it'll automatically bring it up for you right up in the browser right away.
That's nice, actually.
Yeah.
Oh,
Which
game
means
porting
then-
Toolkit too.
Yeah, they have Ubisoft showing off something. I think it was Assassin's Creed.
Yeah,
Yeah, a new version of game porting
too.
Toolkit.
Oh, Ubisoft. Yeah. I'm not much of a gamer, so you guys definitely will have a little more. I'm sure Mike's the same.
I defer iOS stuff to Dave. I'm going to defer gaming stuff to Darren here.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
It's really cool, but I'm not much of a gamer.
I think the game porting toolkit that came out did make a huge difference to not only developers but also other projects that can then help to virtualize 86 code and Windows apps and so on, and run stuff that was never designed to run on the Mac, but at great speed. So now the game porting toolkit 2 is going to take that further and improve the situation even more. It was originally developed so that developers could visualize their Windows apps with no modifications working on a Mac to see what sort of performance they might get when they port the game to be running on the Mac natively. But it was so good that some other developers decided to use the game porting toolkit directly to emulate unmodified Windows games on a Mac, and that worked a lot better than people thought it would. So this is going to improve
amazing.
the situation even further. Yeah.
Oh, so they have Apple Pay now available on third-party browsers. That's good.
Oh, that's good.
Oh,
yeah,
that's huge.
Well done, Apple. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
good.
I love those grids they put up for every OS. It's so easy to just I screenshot that, and it's always my reference every
Yeah.
time I talk about it on the show.
I think we used to call it a feature quilt.
Yeah.
It's almost like a
Exactly. That's good. I didn't even
quiltable
think of that way.
feature.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, public betas will be available next month. Developer betas today.
Of course, today. Ka-ching.
So definitely the iPhone update, the Mac update looks nice too. The iPad update looks nice. Although, again, it would be nice if they would add some more desktop level type, OS changes. I mean, something that, with real background processes being able to run, real multitasking type stuff. I think that's something for a lot of people, especially with the iPad Pro, are kind of looking for. It doesn't have to, you don't have to go nuts, but just something that makes it a little bit more powerful than, what it is today.
It's tricky, isn't it? Because quite a few people try to use an iPad as if it's a laptop, and some people try to use a laptop as if it's an iPad, whereas they both have unique workflows. And if you get into the mindset of the workflow that you want to achieve on the right device, then you're not going to trip up. But I think it's funny when people criticize an iPad for being an iPad when it's meant to be that way.
Yeah, no, I know it. There's, it's kind of, I've watched a number of YouTube videos on it and what people, and I've never really got into the whole, it's limited by its software and the hardware is great and everything. But I forget who did it. Snazzy Labs. I think, I don't know if you ever watch him.
Yeah, I watch Quinn.
Quinn. Yeah. He actually had a pretty good take on it. And he's always tended to be, let an iPad be an iPad sort of thing. But, even he said, it would be kind of nice to allow it to do certain things. And And, again, too, while certain apps are available for it, like Final Cut Pro, at least the things I do in it, I can't really make use of it the way that, it's just, and it could be just that I'm so ingrained in the Mac version that it's just, whatever. On the flip side, I do use Logic Pro, so on the iPad, and I think it's great. And the Affinity apps are pretty great. So it just depends upon.
Yeah, there are a few limitations. So if you were running a podcast, for instance, it's tricky to do all the recordings from an iPad because there are limitations in how the audio works. So that's a true thing. Yeah, it's not just down to workflow sometimes. But to me, there's not many situations where you can't get an awful lot done on an iPad. And sometimes it's just people not realizing the correct workflow to use when you're using a touch-first device instead of a desktop device. It's just a different approach.
Right. It's just a different approach. And one of the complaints I've heard with Final Cut Pro, and again, because I haven't used it a lot, I haven't run it, but the exporting, just the writing out the file and rendering it at the end, if you leave Final Cut Pro for any reason, it just stops. And you have to start exporting all over again. Whereas on the Mac, obviously it'll just keep going in the background. And
that's it.
I think although I have to say, for me, that's not an issue because even on the Mac, I let it and make sure that that's a foreground app and just go get a cup of coffee because it just takes forever. It seems like it takes longer if I let it run in the background. So, but still, I can see where that would get annoying.
Well,
yeah, if it doesn't. Oh, sorry, carry on.
I'm only going to carry on because Apple has been carrying on. So they
indeed, yes.
Indeed.
Talk of AI coming to the presentation today has proven to be true, and the rumor has been proven to be true, and that is that it's not AI as in artificial intelligence, but AI as in Apple intelligence.
Apple intelligence.
So I have a feeling. I have a feeling that what they're telling us is that everything we've seen today has been enhanced and made better thanks to Apple intelligence. Dave, I know you've been watching it.
Yeah.
Is that what they've been telling us so far?
Yeah, pretty much, because it's going to be across all OSs, and they've gone through the different steps already. Images, text, it's going to help you write better. So you can't tell me that. Well, I don't know if they'll announce it yet, but OpenAI isn't involved in this. That it kind of has to be.
Has to be, yeah.
And, right here. Here's the quote for Mac Rumors Now: is that deep natural language understanding, diverse new writing tools to access system-wide, allows you to rewrite or proofread text automatically across Mail, Notes, Safari, Pages, Keynote, and third-party apps. There you go.
Cool.
It will be interesting to see how pervasive this is within our operating systems. In other words, will we have a choice to turn it on or off depending on what it is we're doing with the Mac? Or is it something that's just going to be on or off entirely? Or is it just going to be on? Are we not going to have a choice in terms of whether we use Apple Intelligence or not? I mean, it needs to be used for things like the math notes, I would think, to be able to interpret.
I would think it would be on by default, I would think. In the same way that you can search for a cat in photos. Essentially, that's machine learning in the background. And it's just on by default. You don't have to turn on, let me search for cats in my photos. It's just there. And the same for text, recognizing text in the image. That's all baked into the operating system. So I think it's going to be that way, which I think is a good thing, because else it's far too complex for the average user to figure out what to turn on and what to turn off. And they can just take advantage of machine learning facilities without needing to think about it. They're just there.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think it's going to be a lot more subtle, the way that it, and in a way, I kind of hoped in the end, especially like with the phone and the iPad, you kind of want it just to sort of work the way that you would expect, you know, for
Yeah.
one, you know, especially if you ask Siri something, you know, that it can handle contextual, like you can handle follow-up questions. You don't have to say the same thing over again, you know, like it's, you know, where's the nearest Burger King, you know, and then it tells you, and then you say, how long is it open? You know, or whatever. And I know, I
Yeah,
think it
follow-on
tells you
questions.
anyway,
Yeah,
yeah, but that it knows that you're talking about Burger King and you're talking about whatever. But just stuff like that where, you know,
yeah.
it can give you stuff in relevant information at the time that you want, or like you said, help you write something or whatever.
Yeah.
That, yeah, because they do, I know with the, you know, their processors, and they're showing that right now, 817 through M4, they have their Neuro engine, which is one of the, I think, more powerful processors for AI, you know, out there as far as computational. And so
you're okay,
they can
Darren.
make use of it.
A17. So you'll be okay, Darren, with your iPad, A17.
Oh, there you
Yeah,
go.
A17. Yeah.
Excellent.
That's the one I have. The same iPad you have as a extra iPad I use for playing with on putting. That's why I never put betas
Awesome.
on my mission critical devices. So
Go down the beta route.
yeah. So I have an iPad and I have an iPhone 13 now that I'm doing some testing with. So we're gonna see how that works, because the 13 I think had a pretty good fast processor. So
Yeah, I will have to.
I'd like to see how it performs on
maybe in a year or two.
my 15, but yeah, I'm not doing that.
Yeah, I think Apple have been laying the groundwork for hardware-assisted machine learning for a very long time. And it's funny to me when people criticize Apple for not being there in AI, when they've been doing all this development for donkey's years now. And there's machine learning cores in absolutely every device that they make, including the watch. There's even machine learning cores. There's two little machine learning cores in the watch, and I don't understand why people say that Apple's not doing a good job in AI when they've been laying the groundwork for this for years. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
And my theme today, as talking compared Android to iPhone and others, I mean, that's what Apple does. They spend the time to make sure it's right.
That's right, and they only release the big feature when all the ducks are in a line and they're all in order, which is just as it should be, rather than springing things onto devices before they're ready to run them, which is often what happens in the Android world.
Yep.
It's kind of interesting. They're looking at. So it sounds like when you utilize AI on there, it'll either do it on device, and if it can't, it'll farm it off device, but it uses something called private cloud compute. So
yes, exactly. Yeah.
It'll
That's
never be. Yeah.
In fact, they just said
you don't
Apple
have your
will never
data
be able
being
to
harvested.
Yeah.
They just said that your data is private. Apple will never be able to see it, and it's always secure.
Quite right. That's how
I
to do this.
I don't hear anybody who's been able to make that statement. Whereas Google or Microsoft, obviously heavy in the AI, Copilot and Gemini, can say.
Well, they're always trying to sell you something.
It's going to be interesting in the enterprise too.
To your data. Sorry.
It's also going to be very interesting in the enterprise, since I work in the corporate world. That we're going to probably be looking at this even closer. Might make it more insight. That corporate is going to be more prone to want to use iPads in their environment because of something like this.
Because it's private. Yeah, quite right.
Right. And here we go with Siri.
Yep.
Yay. Good old Siri. Siri gets a bad rap. I like Siri.
You're the only one I know, Darren. Well, Darren,
the only Siri fan.
Eric's point of being able to contextualize requests being made of Siri would be a huge, huge thing that needs to be brought to it. As you said, what are the hours? It should be able to figure out that's in relation to the previous question. And yet that's a huge failing of Siri, and it always has been a huge failing on it that others have been able to do for good or bad, whether you use them or not. Others have been able to do that. So if we can bring that persistent conversation with Siri, I think that would be a game changer as far as that particular personal assistant.
I
and
can
they're
see
just
Siri
demonstrating that
becoming
right
more
now.
conversational,
they're
and also
showing it.
being able to carry on through a conversation layer, as Eric was talking about earlier on. So mentioning, so the question you ask is aware of the previous answer, for instance. So yeah, I think that's going to be a good addition to Siri.
Yeah, they just mentioned that it's going to have conversational context. And she just used an example of Muir Woods.
Icon. Yep.
Yeah. And the other cool thing, you can actually type to Siri now when you don't want to talk to it, which you could do before, but it was like you either had to have it, you were typing all the time or you were talking. You couldn't just type one time and talk another time, which is cool. So
the other cool thing I noticed now is, we were always so used to the little button coming up every time you asked for her. Now it's doing a full frame around the entire frame of the iPhone. So it's flashing the full frame. So you're really getting an immersed understanding that you're using Siri to
anything I can't do quicker already by not invoking Siri. They showed weather and appointment calendars, which is a swipe right. I mean, that's where I have those widgets. I swipe right, and there's my weather, and there's my appointments. But with the ability of each of us to interact with it in our own way, and I hope it eventually learns more about us and how we want to interact with it, I think those experiences will become better and better.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, that sounds, yeah.
Now they're going to come to in-app actions, because that's the new thing that you really couldn't do very well, if at all.
They were calling it on-screen awareness.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's called it in-app actions. And that's a good note here to mention is a lot of these features are not probably going to be available today in the first beta. I'm sure this is still evolving
stuff that's going to be later on.
Yeah.
That
makes sense. Yeah.
Rolling out more features next year. I'm sure the ones they're mentioning are probably going to be, because they wouldn't mention them unless they would say it. But there's going to be probably more features that they're even talking about. We'll probably be finding out.
I like the built-in feature for Apple product knowledge. So anyone can ask a question. It's like having an expert system on the device to help anyone that needs a hand with anything. So that looks like a very good feature.
So they're calling this App Intents API. That's the actual API that's being utilized to take advantage of it on a third-party app.
Yeah, I think that API already exists, but it must be massively upgraded. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And Siri has a nice new icon now.
I quite like the old one, actually. But what's the new one look like?
Is it? Well, it's got the sideways 8.
Its ability to respond accurately, precisely, and with relevant information is infinite, Dave.
Wow, infinite.
That's right. Infinite.
That's what that new icon is telling us.
Actually, I forgot
Yes.
that's the infinite. That's the infinite.
There's the infinite. I was going to say, yeah.
Apple's crack marketing
They haven't
team.
mentioned
Yep.
they
Hard
haven't
at work.
mentioned any of the really important things like new emojis.
Right.
I wonder how far that goes. I wonder what happens if you try to ask how to achieve something, whether it would be able to piece together the sort of Apple workflow you would need to achieve a certain thing if you weren't sure how to do it. This could be massively expanded in the future, I can see. So this is the first steps. Now, I think it's good, very good.
See, I just want to know, like, is it going to be, can I say, how many pounds of hamburger are in their freezer? And they can tell me you have 2 pounds left or something like that. That would be.
Put the sensor in your freezer, yeah.
Yeah.
No, you just take a picture of the contents of your freezer and say, well, what can I make with this? Or your fridge. So get me a banquet. I need to make a banquet. What should I make from all my ingredients?
That's a clever usage, Darren. Taking a picture of what you have and say, what can I make with this?
Well,
I like that.
I mean, that's what's coming down the road, isn't it? I mean, we're mainly looking at speech and text, but multimodal, including image input and video input to an AI, is the next thing on the cards, and it's sort of like been demonstrated already in a few places. I think that's going to be one of the sort of things that is added to AI helpers. Helper's not entirely the right word, is it? Assistant, yes, a proper AI assistant.
And yet they are little enhancements to features we've had before. So for example, show me the files that June sent me last week. I think that was the question. We could do similar things, show me the files from last week, but we couldn't put it within the context of who sent those files. So that's an interesting thing. That's an interesting addition.
That's the thing. Yeah, you can build up complex searches like that by doing a search within the normal Spotlight search that we would do, and then pressing the plus button to add another search criteria to it and build them up. But that's quite a complex thing for most people to do, and I think this is an easier way to approach the same result, but without having to do all those complex building up of multi-layered searches.
And let's be clear here. I have not seen anything that does not require the use of an Apple-created app. In other words, for that search request, show me the files June sent me last week, you're going to most likely at this point need to use Apple Mail, or you're going to need to use Apple's Calendar app, or you're going to need to use Safari.
Not necessarily.
Although they are showing that they do have APIs for third-party developers, and they're making that available.
Sure.
And they're also showing third-party apps on there too. But you're right. I think especially at the beginning, yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how many developers take advantage of it, especially those who develop cross-platform. Will they put the time and effort into adding and integrating these features into their apps, or will they just say, well, it's not something that's available on Linux or Windows, so we're not going to spin our wheels adding this just for the 20% of our users who use a Mac, that sort of thing. Microsoft will no doubt do it. Microsoft will take advantage of it in Office.
Yeah, and will it be a pain to add, or will it be fairly simple?
That's a first-party product, isn't it?
Yeah.
So with Microsoft making Windows and Microsoft making Office, they can integrate it easily, and I think it will be with on the Mac as well with the Apple's Office suite. I reckon it will also go system-wide to third-party apps, as Eric says. I think The only downside is it's a bit more difficult for developers because they can't use the same code on different platforms for AI. They have to specify different way of working for each platform, which is quite a lot of extra work, but it is possible.
And you were about to say, Eric, look, this whole week, WWDC week, is about making things easier for developers, but you were raising a good point about the integration of it.
Yeah. How easy will it be for these developers to add some sort of AI feature to their app? And if it's really easy, I think they'll definitely at least consider it, if not do it. If it's going to be a pain, then I think that, and because I think developers are always looking for an edge, to show off something new and to say, hey, my app can do this and stuff like that. So if it's not a real huge pain to do it, I'm sure they will. But if it is, then and there's really nothing that can be gained for them, for their app, I'm sure they won't.
Well, with the way Apple's been transparent about all the APIs that they're providing for all these new technologies, I think it's gonna. I mean, I'm not a true out developer. I have a developer's account, but just seeing that tells me that these developers are probably going to really want to start digging in and exploring these APIs and whichever functionality they're looking to work with.
That innate curiosity of a developer is going to kick in, and they're going to want to start playing with this stuff, even if it doesn't necessarily make it to their applications. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
These developers are going to have a very busy week this week.
They're showing off
Genmoji.
Genmoji.
Oh no.
Apparently, you can type what you want to see. Yeah.
Oh Lord.
I don't know about that, guys. So the dino and the surfboard's pretty darn cute, I'll have to say.
Yeah, and that's kind of cool.
And that's OpenAI for you.
I haven't seen any of this yet.
Yeah.
Image playground.
Oh, I see.
It's all the things that AI has been doing. The one thing I would like to be, I think the one thing it may not explore is music. Although, because you can, I've played around some of the AI tools that you can actually, I've like, hey, create me a theme song for In Touch with iOS, and then I would give it some parameters, and it would come up with some wonky stuff, but some of it's kind of cool.
After the video showing the press squishing all the artist works, I'm thinking Apple might pull back a little bit and not show how creative AI can be when it comes to creating music.
Yeah.
Their marketing team should rethink.
Rethink that a little bit and say maybe it's too soon. Hey, maybe we don't show that.
That was a bit of a misstep. Yeah.
But a tabby cat in a chef's hat, sure, no problem. We'll show that.
I wonder how that translates to other platforms. So when you create your Genmoji, is it effectively just sending an image file to another platform that can
I think
overlay different emojis on top of each other?
Just sending a bitmap. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
interesting to see how that goes.
So it's kind of like a fancy Memoji.
Yep.
How about an Apple intelligence generated Memoji, so that you can just feed it a picture and say, create a Memoji out of this for me, and not have to sit there twiddling with all the little settings and what color hair and all this kind of stuff.
Good.
Just here's a picture, create a Memoji. Boom, done.
Right.
That would be cool.
I like that. Yeah, that'd be great. I think you should suggest it on the feedback form.
Well, since Tim listens to the show, I'm sure
Absolutely. Oh, I see.
he's
We don't need to do that.
He
Yeah,
was
of
already
course.
working
And
on
there,
it. Yeah,
and therein lies another API, Image Playground API.
exactly.
See a lot of APIs mentioned today,
Yeah. Well, it's a developers conference.
more so
It is.
than ever.
It is. Yeah.
More so than ever, indeed.
Yes.
Yes. No
Have
hardware
we-
yet.
Have we seen OpenAI overtly mentioned during this presentation at
No.
all?
No.
As much as Apple
Doesn't look
likes
like
to talk about privacy, when it comes to sending your data off to a third party like OpenAI, at what point and where, does OpenAI's or Google's privacy policies come into play?
That's it. Well, Apple may not need to say who they partner with. They already use Microsoft systems and so on in their data centers, but they don't mention it. And they probably don't need to.
Right.
We'll hear it after the fact, and many
Yes,
posts,
exactly. Someone will find out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
the sleuths that are out there when they find things. Oh, and here we go, photo editing. Another would be another
Yeah.
reason to complain. Oh, Android had this. Clean up.
Yeah, but this is done right and privately.
Oh, Lord. Well overdue. Oh, boy, it really was. But you know
Well,
what?
what's that-
Apple
what's
waited
that
for
well overdue?
these AI technologies.
Well, yeah, they're being surfaced now, so they're more obvious. But I think that Apple was laying the groundwork for all of this for a long time.
Right.
So
Long time.
yeah,
Yeah, you're right, Darren. They were certainly hinting at a lot of this headed our way.
Yeah.
And we're just now starting to see it. And no doubt some of the stuff that we're hoping for won't be here yet, but we'll see it next year or the year after that.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued by search engine videos. That, depending on what we can do with the results of that search, could be a very powerful tool.
yeah. It depends if it's audio based or video based, or maybe both. Because I think there's already
Oh, it's
audio based
They're doing the photos
video
and videos.
searches.
What'd you say?
I said they were showing how you can search for specific topics in your videos, and it would create a montage of it for you, and then even
Yeah.
incorporate music.
Oh, right,
Really
yes.
nice.
That goes far beyond the usual sort of audio search in video. That goes far
Right.
beyond that. That's very good.
Stock market is already reacting.
So it's a good time to buy.
Did it already tanked?
Buy your stock now.
No kidding.
Darren raised the point earlier about the complexity of doing certain things the way we do them now and how AI could potentially make it
Yep.
easier for those folks to accomplish these same tasks. But in my day-to-day interactions with people, I see folks who just are unaware or unwilling to interact with their phones in even the most basic way. Apple Pay, Touch ID, Face ID. They don't want to deal with this stuff. They don't even want to put in a PIN code in many cases. It's just way too complicated for them. And so I'm watching this video, watching the demo show, the crafting of these prompts to create collections of photos, collections of videos, to edit photos and videos. And I just wonder how many people will even bother.
Yeah, it might be only a power users thing. Oh, so, Dave's seen something good, looks like.
What did you see,
OpenAI,
Dave?
ChatGPT and OpenAI was just mentioned.
It
mentioned.
was.
And it's
there you go.
ChatGPT
They are
4.0.
saying they're working with.
So they
Yeah.
said what Craig said was beyond what we've already provided you in the tools today. You may want to do other things, and then led right into this.
Yep.
And that answers the question. When you want to do something beyond what we can provide you, what we've already shown you you can do, when you want to do something just beyond it, you're going to have to interact with ChatGPT, and then their privacy policy kicks in.
And that's why Sam Altman is there today with the CEO of OpenAI.
Yeah,
Yep.
I mean, some of those technologies are seamless, though, aren't they, Mike? Going on from what you said earlier, there's technologies like Face ID, so you don't have to jump through hoops to be secure. The act of you looking at the app to look up your data makes it secure because you're the one looking at it. So the user doesn't have to even think about jumping through any hoops at all. The improvement in security and technology is just there straight away in your face with Touch ID. And we need more technologies like that for your average user to take advantage of powerful features without having to think about how to use them.
Yeah.
So I think you've hit that on the head there, Mike.
And you can connect if you have a paid account with ChatGPT, you can connect their account with Apple, and you can take advantage of that as well.
Yeah, so
that's
it's
nice.
going to be a paid thing. It's going to be sort of like an extra thing to use
that part.
ChatGPT.
Apple's going to provide what they provided, but obviously, if you want to go beyond that,
Beyond that, you can. I gotcha.
Kind of like with Microsoft, and even that matter does. You have some accessibility to tools, but you want to get more of the advanced stuff and more current stuff.
Right.
Oh, I like that.
In the corporate world, if you're looking at Copilot, they're charging $30 a head in the corporate world. So
that's it. It's expensive.
Yeah.
But that's where a company has to evaluate it. Is there going to be some value to this to help employees be more efficient and more able to get the things that they need?
That's it. Is it worth it? Do they get things done quicker? I just noticed that is looking quite good. Where are we? Oh yes, being able to record a phone call. I think that could be quite handy. Although legally you would probably have to tell the other person you're recording the call.
But now it's going to tell the person that it's being recorded.
Oh, that's very clever. I like that. Yes.
Yeah, that's a good point, Darren, because in many states here in the U.S., it's a legal requirement. And in many, it's not.
Yes, it is.
So just blanket announcing it is probably the good call here.
Yeah.
Of course, legally, it's slightly different here because you guys in the States, you have slightly different laws in each state, I believe. And in the UK, it's national. So there's one law to rule them all almost everywhere. Although we do have a few laws that are separate to Wales and Scotland and Northern Ireland and so on. But it's generally dealt with nationally. So imagine all of your states having just one law for things. And then
chaos, Darren.
Chaos.
They just said that it might be M1 and higher on the iPad. I just noticed on some of these features.
Oh, fair enough. Fair enough. I'm happy with that. Yeah. That's okay. I can expect that. No problem. I don't expect.
You'll still get iOS 18. You just may not get
features on my old iPad. Yeah, that's fine.
Well, we've seen this before, and I was thinking about this earlier. I wonder how many devices are going to get that new look to Siri and how many are going to still have the old look to Siri, depending on the model
Yeah.
phone or iPad that you have. Will they all get the flashing border, or will only the 15 and higher get the flashing border? It'll be interesting to see
Good
what
question.
actually rolls out to our devices and what doesn't, and especially when it comes to the AI stuff. If anyone has used Mac Whisper, which is a great transcription app,
Mm-hmm.
I have it.
load that up on an Intel Mac and tell it to transcribe a 2-hour video podcast, and you might as well
It'll
come
die.
back the next day. And
Yeah.
pop it onto
Yeah.
an M1 Max or to
It's-
an M3, and it's almost instant. It's crazy how fast it
Yeah.
is on an M series.
Even on my
processor.
M1, my 1 hour podcast, I've tried it. It's done in no more than 15 minutes.
super quick, and super accurate.
Very, very quick.
So
Yeah, it's pretty accurate.
It's awesome.
It
is.
And Eric, you use Pixelmator Pro and a lot of its AI features. Don't even bother on an Intel Mac. And
No.
if you do, again, just walk away and come back later, because it's
Later.
not going to be done. But on Apple Silicon, poof, it's done in not even seconds. It's
Yeah, I
super
did a
fast.
test. I had a test image, Mike. I did the same thing. When I did an AI upscale on the test image on an Intel Mac, it took a minute or so, which I thought was quite good, until when I upgraded to my M1 Mac with its 16 ML cores. It did the whole process in half a second. I couldn't even time it quickly enough to register 1 second. So
It's
it
crazy.
felt like it was under a second, at least half a second. So it was amazing speed difference.
Yeah.
Well, I just saw the plane take off, so I presume we're done.
We are done. And it was
They-
shot on an iPhone and edited on a Mac.
They parachuted their load, gave their presentation, plane flies off, we're done. Dave, you've taken the screenshots of all the feature quilts, as we call them.
Yeah, I'm looking at them.
I tried
I'm not
to.
that. I'm good, but I'm not that good.
I tried to take a screenshot, and it just turned off my phone, so I stopped bothering.
I go back and I download the video and edit and get it later.
But let's start with you, and let's start with iOS 18, Dave. What today impressed you the most? And you can expand into iPadOS, of course, and into its peripheral operating systems for the watch and TV and whatnot. But anything today really strike you as gotta have? And I know you're gonna have some of this on your beta machines, but what are you looking forward to that they've announced?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing was I like I said was just the screen sharing really excites me. I mean, that's between Mac OS and iOS.
That's huge.
That was probably the biggest thing I probably that got excited about. And I mean, just I think the customization of the control center, I think is going to be really cool thing. I really dig that, the text effects enhancements, that was really a really cool thing. So all in all, I think that was great. There's just so much, and I could keep going on here. The lock screen customizations, I can keep going. I mean, just a lot of great enhanced features. I mean, we just absorbing all this. I just was thinking to myself that I'm probably gonna have enough content for like 3 shows because there's so
Right.
much that we talk about. This is the monumental of all the years I've covered the WWDC. I think this is probably the most content we've ever had to really absorb. So it's gonna take some time to get through it. But even the Apple Intelligence stuff that's going to integrate really nicely with iPhone and iPad is going to be really nice. The Mac itself, I'm excited about Mac too. I mean, so Sequoia, that's going to be a great operating system, and a lot of those other enhanced features. So I'm just going across all the platforms. I'm not hard into Vision Pro just yet, but
Yeah.
who knows? Let's see what the price goes down. I might dabble in it, but it's a little bit for my blood. But it is a cool device. But and we knew going in Vision, the Apple VisionOS 2 was going to come out with some major enhancements, and it did. But I think it still has a long way to go. Apple Watch 2. I think the Apple watchOS is going to have some great stuff, as I've talked about earlier, with integrations to a lot of apps and that. So, but all in all, as far as iOS, those are probably some of the things I really think were great.
Awesome. Eric, how about you? Anything today really stand out to you that you just kind of can't wait to load up on your devices as soon as it's released? If not sooner. Now, you have a developer account, so you can do beta if you want to. But anything you're just eager to jump onto right away?
Well, I did like what I saw with the Mac and also the iPhone and iPad. I guess it depends upon when all that stuff is coming and how it'll be implemented. The one thing is, a lot of times you can throw those betas on, but you can't really test much until after all the apps have been updated to handle this or that. And so, but it did. I have to say, some of the stuff did look really cool, and it looks like a beginning to them doing the the right thing with AI. It's kind of like Darren said. I think it was Darren, maybe it was Dave, that they've got like nobody else does this, where they've got like 5 different OSs that they update pretty much at the same time every year. And it's just and I guess too, along with that, you can't forget Apple TV. That looked really cool as well. So and yeah, definitely. I use my Apple TV all the time, and I'm kind of interested. It'll be interesting to play around with some of that as well. And I'm not a big gamer. I wish I was, just because the gaming looks like it's starting to get really cool on the Mac. And that's probably why I haven't been a big gamer, because games haven't had a huge, place on the Mac. So,
although we did see Prince of Persia go by. That was one of the games we were talking about. Talk about a classic on the Mac.
Yep. Yeah, that's true. Actually, I didn't think about that. And Assassin's Creed looked really cool.
Looked good too, yeah.
I've always loved that game, because that was like one of the first games that really allowed you to explore outside of the game itself and just kind of give you this free, roam. It just, you weren't stuck down this path. You could go wherever you wanted to and kind of do whatever you wanted to, within reason, but it was far less limited than most games. So, yeah.
How about you, Darren? Anything jump out at you today?
Yeah. I mean, very similar to what Dave said, actually. So the remote controlling, or potential for remote control of an iOS device via a Mac to help someone out with problems, that looked very, very, and also for demonstrating things, for projecting. Here's how you do things with various devices wirelessly. It all looks easier to do now. So that was very exciting. But one of the things I like is how the integration works. So we're thinking about 5 or 6 different operating systems here, and it's all the features. I mean, it's going to take, as Dave said, it's going to take a while to dive into what's listed on all of the quilts for all of the operating systems. There's a lot there to dive into, but there seems to have been some obvious thought into each feature and how they integrate with all the other operating systems as well. So I like the way that Apple does integrate all the features together across multiple operating systems and really think about features rather than just adding them for no particular reason or poor reasons. So I do like how Apple does that. I mean, it's overwhelming almost. I mean, as Dave said, there's so many things on those cards that it's going to take a while just to figure out what's coming down the road. And I'm not brave enough to run the betas yet, so I'll just be waiting until they come out for real in November. But as Eric said, Apple's one of the only companies you can count on for updates to come out for all their operating systems, have pretty much no issues, no errors with updates applying, things just working, all the devices working at the same time, and it happens like clockwork every year in November. No other company does that.
Yeah, for sure. It's interesting when you look at the time spent that we were at just over an hour spent on all the operating system feature upgrades. And then we're right about 45 minutes on the AI alone.
Yeah.
And as we got through, you remember at one point I said to Dave, hey, have they even mentioned AI during all the features that they've talked about with the operating systems? Have they even mentioned AI? And it was around that time, I'm sure all of you felt the same thing. Oh, this is our one more thing. This is where we say, look at all these cool new features coming, but oh yeah, they exist because of Apple Intelligence. They don't exist because we just plucked them in here, willy-nilly. They exist because we've added this thing called Apple Intelligence to all of our operating systems. I presume it's on all of them. I don't know about watchOS and tvOS, but I presume it's there throughout all the operating systems. And all these cool things we talked about, even the calculator, only exists because of we joke, but the neat features, not the ability to punch buttons and do 2 + 2, but the neat features of being able to write on the screen and tabulate data and draw formulas and have it understand what we're trying to accomplish, what we're trying to do, that happens and that exists because of Apple Intelligence. So to wrap up the whole thing with this neat little bow called Apple Intelligence was a great way to put together the keynote today.
Yeah, I think Apple are going to be probably criticized for using the phrase Apple Intelligence and almost hijacking what AI means. I think they will be criticized for it, but only by people who don't know what the implications are and what the addition of how Apple Intelligence is used, making use of AI behind the scenes. So it's probably going to be difficult to explain to people that think Apple have just stolen the idea and changed AI into Apple Intelligence.
Well, it won't be the first time, Darren.
No.
Has assumed ownership of certain terms throughout the years, and they don't seem to have any regrets about doing so. And I don't think they're going to have any regrets about doing so with Apple Intelligence either. Dave was spot on to say there was absolutely so much to digest. And I just want to say before we wrap things up here, if folks are looking for that post-keynote reaction, not the live reactions like we hear, but the post-keynote reactions where they go a little bit more in depth into what we heard and what it means to us as users, you're going to want to watch Dave and the rest of the crew on Chuck Joyner's Mac Voices Live this week. You're going to watch Dave host his team on In Touch with iOS on Thursday night. Let's see, Mac Voices Live is Tuesday. Dave's show is on Thursday. Those are two fantastic shows to tune into if you want to get a second and third roundtable of what this all means to us when it's released to us this fall. So be sure to check those out. Speaking of which, why don't we go ahead and wrap things up? I think digesting what we heard is really the best course of action next, and no doubt, Eric and I are going to be talking about this on For Mac Eyes Only as well, and maybe we'll have one of you two on to talk about things too.
Happy to be on.
Yeah, but I think that's going to do it for this episode of For Mac Eyes Only. I hope everyone enjoyed it. Remember, I do love to get your letters, so if you have any comments about the show, a tip to share, or a software or hardware problem with your Mac, or you would like to chat about the keynote today, you can leave your thoughts in this week's show notes found at formaceyesonly.com, or you can drop me a line, mike@formaceyesonly.com. And be sure to subscribe to the show's YouTube channel at youtube.com/FMEOTV. And you can click that little notification bell so you can find out when we're going live. You can join the chat room and you can catch all the behind the scenes stuff that doesn't make the final cut of the show. Let's go around here and ask folks where people can get in touch with you if they would like to reach out and say hi or ask you questions about one of the prognostications you made during the episode, because we're often proven wrong by the time the show is over. But why don't we start with Darren? Is there a good way for folks to get a hold of you, Darren?
Well, I'm usually lurking in the background on most social media locations, so it's probably best if any emails directed to me were directed through yourself, Mike. And
that would be
if
fantastic.
you'd like to pass anything on to me, then just send messages through to Mike, perhaps.
All right, we'll get that set up. If you have any questions for Darren, be sure to send those by way of Mike at macOSonly.com, and I'll make sure that Darren gets them. Eric, of course, what's the best way for folks to get a hold of you?
Usual, Eric at macOSonly.com. That's the best way.
Awesome. And Dave, we're going to wrap up with you. What is the best way for folks to get a hold of you and hear your thoughts on iOS 18 and more?
Come to our website, In Touch with iOS at intouchwithios.com. I'm also, like you mentioned, Mac Voices Live. Come listen to us on Tuesday nights, and we'll be doing that live, and then you'll be able to watch it later. I'm also on the British Tech Network on Fridays at the Mac Show. We'll be talking about that as well with Jeff Gamet and Chuck Joyner and Patrice Brendamore. And then for social media, you can find me on Mastodon at DaveG65 at mastodon.cloud, YouTube channel, youtube.com/intouchwithios. Thank you.
Very cool. Thanks, Dave. And thanks so much for listening, everyone. Thanks to Eric and Darren and Dave for joining me this episode. Stay subscribed, and we'll talk to you next time. All right. Now, let's see if I did this right. I think I've